Kathy of kathysright.com, and welcome. I'm so glad you made it. Have a listen. This is an interesting day, as usual. Today, Bernie Sanders bowed out. Yes, he decided he was finally done with the campaign, but we knew he wasn't ever going to run, honestly, be a president. He knew it even before the heart attack. He's a professional runner for president, if there's such a word. He professionally runs for president to get his message out there. Communism, that whole thing. And so I don't think he thought he would make it this far, to be honest. But he had no intentions of ever really being president. I don't think his wife would have even allowed it after the heart attack. But Jill, Joe Biden's wife, she doesn't mind propping her husband up ad nauseum, and the poor man embarrasses himself almost every single time. My gosh, that's kind of frightening that a person that's supposed to love you the most in the world is willing to just prop you up for whatever reason, let you embarrass yourself, let you say things that you're going to be embarrassed about later, just so what, you can be the first lady, or maybe she's got an agenda. Who knows? People in Washington, they all seem to have an agenda. That deep state thing is real, and Trump knows it's real. We know it's real, and it is happening. It's very subversive, and it is very insidious at this moment. While we're going through this pandemic, they are plotting and scheming and putting things in place that we may not be able to get rid of for years. And that is a scary thought. We will get rid of it because that's how we're made. We're Americans. I think they forgot that. They think because we listened to them about this pandemic, we're doing the social distancing and we're being obedient to the doctors. I think they've got us by the balls, but I think that we know that they're wrong. That is why it is imperative that we don't allow them to take our fundamental rights away. They've already stopped our churches from having services. That's too much. That's overreach, in my opinion. Sure, they should have given the churches the opportunity to do the social distancing on their own, like they do at the grocery store, like they do at the fast food stores. Why can't they trust the churches will do the very same thing at the churches? But no, they had to jump in there and say, okay, no mass, no church services. That bothers me. And that ought to bother you too. And I hope and pray that we stay on top of it, because if we're not careful, we may never get our country completely back. And while we were so swift to accept everything that we were told to do and about the coronavirus, shutdown and quarantine, I believe that as usual, the leftist, socialist, communists are taking full advantage of this situation to implement their secular public policies, bringing America ever closer to their ideal of American socialism, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump from communism, let's be honest. They want to stretch this time period, the period between, when they first told us to stay shut in if you can, if you're not in an essential job. But I think they want to stretch it out. In fact, Bill Gates has said as much. Trump wants us back to work, and I think most workers want back to work. I think we're grown up enough to be careful enough to stay away from each other to a certain degree. I can go to Costco, and they have it all set up where the lines are a certain way. They have tape on the floor so you know how far away you are in the line from the person in front of you. And I think that's a very smart way to be. I don't think we need to be shut down anymore at this point. I think we should consider social distancing a voluntary thing. And particularly since we do have what I think is a cure, the anti-malaria compound that people are taking. I'm seeing wonderful results. But, the powers that be, and I mean by that, I don't mean real power. I'm talking about the people who have that subversive power, like Bill Gates. He wants it to go on another 10 weeks. Another 10 weeks of this. Another 10 weeks of no Mexican food. I'm not trying to be trivial. I realize this is people's jobs. These are people's businesses. This is people living their best life, and they have contaminated it. They're not the ones that created the coronavirus. The Chinese did that. They're saying we did it. I don't believe so. It came out of Wuhan. And I find it preposterous that they're trying to let China off the hook in the mainstream media. I find that preposterous. I don't understand how they think they can get away with that in front of the American people unless they think we are completely gullible and willing to accept whatever they say. I don't think we're that gullible. Not anymore. So the trust factor that the news media used to have has been eroded to such a point that we listen to them kind of with a side eye, because you kind of take anything they say with a grain of salt, because we went through the impeachment, we went through the whole not covering his rallies on mainstream media. We went through their bias. We went through them saying the same monotonous stories on station after station, actually repeat the very same sentences. And then the Democrat nominees repeated exactly what they said on the news, as though they were all getting some special memo to repeat, as if to say, if they say the same lie long enough and loud enough, then people will believe them. I suppose there's a certain part of our society that will believe them. People who really don't want to think. I mean, there are people who actually don't want to think. They don't want to get up and use their brain on anything. So for those mindless people, they're kind of at the mercy of those bad people and those of us who think. And that's kind of sad. And I don't know how we got that way, but I think mind-numbing television has done it, to be honest, because I watched television growing up, and it was amazing. I loved television. I was a Brady Bunch follower. My favorite show was Brady Bunch and I Love Lucy and Dick Van Dyke, and I had a lot of favorites. But the shows that they watch today, it's so different than what I remember. I mean, our stories always had a moral at the end of the story. Remember Lassie? Even Lassie had a moral at the end of the story. Today's shows don't have a moral at the end of the story. They just find out who killed a person. That's pretty much it. That consistency of mayhem. I mean, if you don't have mayhem or some sort of major sin in the movie, then there's no movie or television show. It's got to have something go wrong. That's the sin. Usually murder or rape or something, something sensational. And then you have someone solve it. And then at the end, after the crescendo, at the climax, and then everybody bang, 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 some, gunshots or whatever. Then there's a denouement afterwards where the storyline goes down and everything's wrapped up tidily at the end of the show. That's pretty much ordinary. I mean, when I've written stories, I have to tell you, that's an easy formula to follow. I mean, most every writer follows that formula. It's not always mayhem. It can be a family dynamic. It could be anything. But it could be war, but for the writer, it's almost a formulaic way of making a story work. But speaking of work, our people really do want to get back to work. And I believe that our president is trusting scientists like everybody told him he ought to trust scientists. But I'm not sure if I'm trusting the scientist that he's listening to at this point, Dr. Fauci, to be specific, because Dr. Fauci keeps making it bigger than life. We're all going to die. It's going to be 100,000 people are going to die. And then, when it doesn't happen to the degree we're all happy and relieved, it's sort of like, you if you expect the worst and it doesn't happen as bad as you thought it would happen, then somehow you're happy. But I think that he makes me question what he says. He's on the television all the time, as well as the Governor Cuomo from New York. I don't know why we in Texas have to listen to Governor Cuomo from New York, even on Fox. Why are we listening to him? It's New York. It's not like I don't care. It's just that how is that going to affect me here in Texas? Why do I have to listen to the governor of New York? I don't know. And his voice is starting to grate on my nerves as well. Kind of like Adam Schiff's did during that time period. And by the way, Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi are already in cahoots, coming up with another, get it, impeachment scam. They want to investigate how Trump handled this pandemic. I mean, it happened everywhere. The word pan, meaning all over, pan, like Pan America, pandemic. Started somewhere else, came here. Trump is a new president, relatively new to politics. And I think he's handling it damn well. I really do, considering the odd. There's so many people against him. I don't know how he knows who to believe and who to trust in Washington, D.C. But the fact that the media love Dr. Fauci, that's what makes me question him. I mean, when I turned on The View, I know nobody watches it but me, but I turned on The View just to have my little hate fest thing going on. And when the totally brainwashed media like Joy Behar and Sunny Hostin, and even, the ever Meghan McCain, she always has to say some sort of dig against, Ivanka or Jared Kushner or whatever. And it's obvious that she's jealous because she always has a little dig for them. And I think that's kind of sad because, she's a grown girl and jealousy just kind of looks ugly on anybody. But she always has a dig. Like, she always acts as though those two are supposed to be the medical specialists all of a sudden. They know nothing about medicine. Why would they be a part of this ordeal? We need people who know something about medicine. Our president barely knows anything of his own. He has to trust other people. And he's trusting those people as we, you or I, would trust our own personal doctor. So the fact that people at ABC News love and support and want us to believe everything that Dr. Fauci says scares me a little bit. I'm just going to be honest. Because I don't trust ABC News. As far as I'm concerned, they're neck to neck with CNN as far as evilness. And, they're all a part of the same snake, basically. But we want to get back to work. But Bill Gates calling for more of a consistent nationwide approach to shutting down. I mean, he wants the federal government to shut everything down rather than the states doing it on their own. We are the United States of America. I don't know if he got that memo, but we are separate states. In fact, here in Texas, we still know we could secede from the Union. If you guys don't behave yourself outside of Texas, we could still secede and we'll be just fine. We have our own resources. So it's the United States, Bill. And I think Bill is one of those superpower type people like Soros who wants his hand in the till, who wants to be a part of everything because he knows that if they get what they want in the socialist existence in the United States of America, if they get what they want, then you'll have the super elite people who have everything and everybody else will be poor suckers, just like they are in Venezuela, just like in China. They said that, in China, everybody has to work really hard, whether they want to or not, and at whatever job the government tells them they have to do. If they are lazy bum, they're still going to work, which is fine to me. I think everybody who can work should work, but there's different ways to work, and I wouldn't want the government determining that as they do in China, as they do in Venezuela, and as they used to do in Soviet Russia. And I know that because I have friends who were raised there. And one friend, she was raised in Russia. She was actually a medical doctor. And she moved here. And here, she didn't have her medical license. I don't know if she was even going for it. But she said she never really wanted to be a doctor. But I guess her grades were really good. And they thought that would be her thing. But that's what she was trained as a doctor in Russia. And here she was doing just kind of a regular job. So translation, the fact that Bill Gates is calling for more national control over the shutdown tells me he's into that socialism thing. And it's time for us to really pay attention as to what they're doing. Even though they're saying, don't look at too much TV, even though TV lies to us a lot, they do drop a lot of hints. And those hints can be pertinent as to our survival individually